Speedsters. The scariest thing in boxing is not power. It is a fighter whose hands are faster than your eyes. Speedsters are light and lean, built to win with timing and movement rather than sitting down on their punches. They are not the fighters who want to plant their feet and grind through long exchanges. Their edge is getting there first, forcing reactions and making the other man look like he is always one step behind. Ryan Garcia got called the Flash for a reason. At lightweight, he had a long, lean build and a 70-inch reach, which gave him the kind of length and snap that made his speed even harder to deal with. Against Luke Campbell in Dallas on January 2, 2021, Garcia was dropped in round 2 by a sharp left hand, and suddenly the timing and rhythm he depended on were gone. But Garcia reset, stayed disciplined, and kept working the same plan. He kept darting in and out, kept showing Campbell the left hook upstairs, setting it up round after round. Then, in round 7, Garcia burst into range and drove that same hand into Campbell's body. Campbell folded to a knee, tried to hold himself there, and stayed down through the count. Garcia shows what speed looks like now. Roy Jones Jr. showed what it could look like at its absolute peak. He built his whole career around making opponents look like they were fighting in slow motion. At 168 pounds, he was wiry, explosive, and long-armed, and he could fire from angles the other man had not even started to read yet. When he fought James Toney in November 1994, Toney came in unbeaten, holding the IBF super middleweight title, and he was the kind of fighter who liked opponents in front of him. He wanted to read the shot, make a man miss, and fire back with something short and clean. Jones kept taking that away. In round 3, he cracked Toney with a leaping left hook that sent him into the ropes for a count, the kind of explosive moment that earned Jones the Captain Hook nickname. Toney kept trying to set counters, but Jones never gave him a steady target for long. By the end of 12 rounds at the MGM Grand, Jones had won a wide, unanimous decision and handed Toney the first loss of his career. Toney never solved him. Nobody really did. Brawlers. Brawlers usually have a tighter, sturdier build that looks made for close-range fighting. They look comfortable when the space gets crowded and the punches get shorter. At close range, the fight becomes about absorbing punishment and returning it harder, and that is exactly where brawlers want to be. Mike Tyson is a perfect example of the brawler body type. When he fought Trevor Berbick for the WBC heavyweight title on November 22, 1986, Tyson was about 5 feet 10 and 221 pounds, while Berbick was around 6 feet 2 and 218. Berbick had the height and reach advantage, but Tyson's build helped him shut that down. He could get low, slip under the longer shots, and work his way inside, where Berbick's reach became useless and Tyson's explosiveness became the only thing that mattered. In round 2, Tyson dropped him once, then hurt him again later in the round. Berbick got up, stumbled backward, fell again, tried to rise, and still could not steady himself before referee Mills Lane waved it off. Tyson won by second-round TKO and became the youngest heavyweight champion in history at just 20 years old. Rolly Romero does not look like a classic brawler, but his instinct inside the ropes is pure pressure fighter. He is listed at 5 feet 7 with a 68-inch reach, and where most fighters at that size try to box and move, Romero wants to get close and make it ugly. He came into his fight against Gervonta Davis on May 28, 2022 at Barclays Center at 14-0 with 12 knockouts. And his whole game plan was to close the distance and force Davis into the kind of short, dirty exchanges where Romero thrives. The problem was that Davis stayed calm enough to punish the entry instead of getting dragged into Romero's fight. Every time Romero stepped in to create the exchange he wanted, he gave Davis another chance to time him. In round 6, Davis caught him with a left hook as Romero came forward, and it was over. The brawler's pressure only works if the other man breaks. Davis never did. Sluggers. Sluggers tend to have a thick, heavy build, engineered for maximum force. The kind of frame where every punch carries bad intentions, regardless of range. Unlike a brawler who wants to crowd you and keep punching in bursts, a slugger can end the whole exchange with one shot. The trade-off is usually less speed, but once they get set and land clean, the fight can end fast. George Foreman is a perfect example of the slugger body type. When he fought Joe Frazier in Kingston on January 22, 1973, Foreman was just under 6 feet 4 and 217 pounds, with an 82-inch reach. Frazier was closer to 5 feet 10 in his crouch and 214 pounds, which meant Foreman was effectively punching down on him the entire fight. Frazier wanted to dip low, come forward, and work his way inside. Foreman kept wrecking that with clubbing shots and uppercuts, meeting every entry with something heavy before it could develop. By 2:26 of round 2, Frazier had been down 6 times, and the fight was over. David Tua was thick, compact, and built to punch hard at short range. Listed at 5 feet 10 with arms that tucked closer to his body than most heavyweights, Tua generated torque through his short arc rather than through extension. Against John Ruiz on March 15, 1996, one shot was all it took. Tua landed the left hook and a follow-up flurry, and the fight was over in 19 seconds, with Ruiz flat on his back, needing medical assistance. Canelo Alvarez proves the slugger build is not exclusive to heavyweights. At 155 pounds, he has thick shoulders, a short neck, and a low center of gravity that let him generate the same kind of leverage bigger men rely on. Against Amir Khan at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas on May 7, 2016, both men officially weighed 155 pounds, but they were carrying that weight in very different ways. Khan was the lighter, faster man, getting in and out early and frustrating Canelo through the first 5 rounds. Canelo's punching was slower and heavier. He stayed patient, kept his feet under him, and looked for one clean opening instead of trying to match Khan's speed. In round 6, he feinted to the body, drew Khan's hands down, and landed the overhand right that knocked Khan out cold. Sharpshooters. Sharpshooters tend to have a long, lean build that helps them keep the fight at the end of straight punches. Their whole game depends on controlling range, punishing every step forward with a jab or straight right before the other man can get set to do anything with it. Dmitry Bivol is a perfect example of the sharpshooter body type. He is 6 feet with a 72-inch reach, and that long, lean frame helps him stay out of danger long enough to find spots for well-placed power shots. He does not need to stand close and trade. He can touch first from farther out, then use his pendulum step and footwork to reset before the other man closes the distance. Against Gilberto Ramirez in Abu Dhabi on November 5, 2022, Bivol threw 63.8% of his output as jabs and used them to dictate range the entire fight. Ramirez was actually the busier man, averaging 70.6, and he even held a narrow lead in power connects. But none of it mattered because Bivol controlled where the fight happened. Ramirez landed at just 12% accuracy overall, including 7% on jabs, compared to his usual 31% and 18% in the fights leading up to it. Bivol finished ahead in 8 of the 12 rounds on the CompuBox breakdown and won a comfortable unanimous decision. Thomas Hearns was tall, lean, and built to punch from long range. At 6 feet 1 with a 78-inch reach, he could land clean before the other man was close enough to fire back. Duran stood 5 feet 7 with a 66-inch reach, which meant he was giving up 7 inches of height and 12 inches of reach before the first bell. When they fought at Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas on June 15, 1984, Duran could never get comfortable. Hearns used his jab to cut Duran's eye at the 2-minute mark of the first round. He dropped Duran for a 3rd time at the 107 mark, and referee Carlos Padilla stopped it immediately. It was the first and only knockout loss of Duran's career. Big boys. Big boys are hard to move and hard to hurt. Every clinch costs the other man energy, and clean shots land with more behind them. The question is whether the engine holds up deep into a fight. Tyson Fury is the clearest modern example. At 6'9", he can build a whole fight around height, reach, and weight. Against Francis Ngannou in Riyadh on October 28, 2023, Fury came in at 277 pounds. Ngannou was huge too, at 272, but Fury still had the taller, longer body. In the kind of fight Fury wants, that size lets him jab from farther out, tie up once the other man gets close, and lean enough weight on him to make every round feel longer. The surprise was that Ngannou, making his professional boxing debut, never let Fury settle into that. He stayed strong in the clinches, caught Fury with a left hand on the temple in round 3, and dropped him. Fury beat the count, held on, and ground out a split decision, but Ngannou made him earn every round of it. Anthony Joshua came into his fight with Alexander Usyk with every physical advantage on paper. It did not matter. Joshua was 6 feet 6 and 240 pounds at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on September 25, 2021, in front of 66,267 fans. Usyk was 6 feet 3 and 221 pounds. Joshua also had the longer reach. A body like that should let a heavyweight put the jab in the other man's face and make him pay for every entry. Usyk never let Joshua use the size that way. He kept circling, kept changing the angle with his southpaw stance, and kept making Joshua reset before he could get his feet under him. By the late rounds, The size advantage was gone. Usyk had made it irrelevant. Usyk won the decision and took the belts. Zhilei Zhang is 6 feet 6 and 271 pounds, and against Joe Joyce on April 15, 2023, he used every inch of it. He could hold his ground, make Joyce walk into the left hand, and let the weight of the shots do the damage without needing to chase or create angles. Joyce was durable and kept pressing forward, but that willingness to engage was exactly what Zhang needed. Every entry gave Zhang another clean look at the same spot above Joyce's right eye. The swelling built round by round until the referee had no choice. At 1:34 of round 6, he waved it off, and Joyce suffered the first loss of his professional career.